wake of the House Judiciary Committee's party line vote to impeach Donald Trump, joining us now is Sean Spicer, the former White House press secretary, now senior advisor to the America First PAC. And Sean, the president tweeted this weekend that it's hard to believe that Fox News would be interviewing, quote, sleazebag Jim Comey or Adam Schiff. And then he said this, let's put it up. Both Commie-cast MSNBC and fake news CNN are watching their ratings tank. Fredo on CNN is dying. That's his insulting nickname for Chris Cuomo. Don't know why Fox News wants to be more like them. Only pro-Trump Fox shows do well. Rest are nothing. You were his press secretary. Do you believe that Fox News shouldn't interview prominent Democrats or should only run pro-Trump shows?
No, I think part of the reason that it's great that they did interview Jim Comey this morning is because you were able to expose him. I don't think he gets the same tough questions that he does when he goes on MSNBC or CNN. And so, frankly, I think that if he doesn't go on Fox News or a couple of these, even Adam Schiff, that they can't expose him because they're going to get softball questions from not only CNN and MSNBC, but a lot of these networks as well. And this happens on a lot of the other Sunday shows. So I respectfully disagree because I think that being able to get these tough questions and have people like Jim Comey get questioned, Ben Domenech commented on it earlier, and I agree with him, that it is allowed to crack through those talking points that he gives CNN and MSNBC and doesn't get any pushback on.
Yeah, it was a very strong interview by Chris Wallace, and this is a news network, and our job is to cover both sides. I know the president sometimes disagrees with that. Now, I know as well that, of course, you strongly support the president who you work for, but can you acknowledge that even if his dealings with Ukraine were totally justified, and even if, which can easily be argued, this doesn't rise to the level of impeachment, that the president's call with Vladimir Zelensky mentioning the Bidens wasn't, to use his word, perfect?
I'm sorry, say it was perfect or it wasn't? I know what he had said.
The president says perfect. I'm saying, can you acknowledge, however else you may feel about this, that it certainly wasn't a perfect phone call?
Well, clearly, I mean, with the controversy that's erupted, but I think that the Democrats and most of the media has clearly taken this and decided what it was, not necessarily looked at the transcript. The president has gone above and beyond in terms of transparency. And again, I think that there's a big difference between what he meant and what a lot of folks in the mainstream media and clearly on the left are trying to say he meant. I've encouraged people, and I know the campaign has done the same, to actually read the transcript.
Okay, so look, clearly, and we mentioned that this was true to a large extent also with Bill Clinton's impeachment. This is a one-party impeachment. No Republicans have signed on to it, and probably will not. So my question is, do you think that most of the media coverage of these impeachment proceedings has been one-sided?
Oh, that's not even questionable. I think I watched some of the interviews with a lot of your colleagues at the other networks and even some of the reporters in terms of the print coverage of this. And there's no question. They've already decided it. There's so many cases where reporters have left the role of being journalists and gone straight into opinion. And there's several other Sunday shows that I've watched or read the transcript of over the last couple of weeks, and it's clear that they have made it very clear what side of the aisle they're on. But let me just touch on something, Howie, that you said at the beginning. Here's what's really interesting. When it comes to the partisanship, and you go back and you look at the comments of Jerry Nadler, you look at the comments of Adam Schiff, of Nancy Pelosi, talking about whether it's the current impeachment process or the impeachment process that occurred when their party was under attack during Bill Clinton's presidency. And they've always talked about this idea of bipartisanship. And yet, what do we potentially have right now? You're right. There isn't one Republican that has signaled any intent of voting for impeachment. But there are a few Democrats who are talking about voting against impeachment. In fact, last night, we have strong indications that one current Democratic member of Congress from New Jersey is going to flip parties.
Right.
So the interesting thing about this, and this goes for the media as well, when it comes to a bipartisan effort, the bipartisan effort is actually against impeachment, not for it, and it has gotten no acknowledgement. I've seen over and over this commentary about how it's along party lines. Not true. We don't know that for certain, and any indication that we have actually shows that it goes in the president's favor against impeachment,
right,
not in the Democrats' favor. And they're the ones who have put the line in the sand saying it needs to be bipartisan, and it's actually the opposite of what they've said.
That was Nancy Pelosi's previous position. I certainly would say it's predominantly along party lines, but let me ask you this, because New York Times had a piece the other day saying the president is discussing with his advisors whether to skip the 2020 general election debates because of his concern about the fairness of the moderators, of course, haven't been chosen yet. Would you advise him to take such a drastic step?
Well, look, I think number one, he did very well in the debates last cycle. So I think no matter who the current Democrat nominee is going to end up or will be, I think he has an opportunity to really contrast his accomplishments and his policies and his agenda with their crazy left-wing socialist policies.
And why worry about the
I saw how well he did last cycle, and I would tell him that he probably should. That being said, I think he is right and smart to challenge the current presidential commission on debates, because the idea that these guys decide lock, stock, and barrel when they're going to debate, who the moderator is, and neither one of the campaigns, and I would say this for both parties, but especially this president, he's shown time and time again that he isn't going to just play by the traditional rules. He should stand up for himself and for his campaign, because he shouldn't just get left with deciding whoever they choose from the mainstream media is going to dictate this. We've seen over and over again how these debates can be crucial. I think he's smart for standing up for this point.
All right, well, we'll see how that plays out. Sean Spicer, appreciate you being here. Thanks very much.
You bet. Thanks, Howie.